Yeah, hello. A couple weeks ago I was contacted to redo a tutorial on the Fusion 360 because I, like many of you, woke up one day and only realized when you turn on Fusion, it's like, well, this doesn't look the same. And so it's kind of a relearning curve. And Fusion already has a steep enough learning curve, so it's kind of interesting. Like, oh, okay, but really, it looks a little different, but it really has not changed that much here too. So, but I went ahead and I'm redoing this one. It's a real simple one. I kept it simple for one reason, because I'm really making these. Now these are two little cutouts I made here too, but why I kept them simple, because one of these has been cut with the Maslow post-processor on Fusion 360, and the other one was cut with the GRBL generic post-processor. I just want to compare the G code and also see if there's any difference in performance and all that. And right now I can say there was no difference, with the exception of when I was doing the Maslow one. I fired it up and it stopped immediately and said, hey, you want to do a tool change? And really that was the only difference. So, and I also decided to keep this simple because, well, first off, the design part has not changed at all. It's basically a couple of new icons at the top and things like that, but that's unchanged. So I want to keep this simple and really kind of focus on the things that had changed a little bit here too. So let's just go ahead and get started here too. What I'm going to do here, I always like to, and again, I'm going to have to apologize right now because I'm running two screens here, and sometimes my mouse is actually a picture of the mouse on the right hand side, and sometimes it's the mouse here too. So if I get lost, my apologies. So anyway, let's go ahead and get a new component started here too. And we're just going to call this one example 1. Okay? And that's just pretty simple in here too. So example 1. Now I'm already in the design thing up here too. And so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a sketch here too, and it's going to ask me to choose a plane, of course. And for me, originally I was thinking, well, I should be looking down from the top, the X, Y, and the Z looking up at me. But what works extremely well for this, if I actually just think this is like a sheet of plywood sitting on the Maslow machine, and I'm looking at the front. That's how it's cutting. So I actually go in this little box up here, I choose front. That's the plane I'm going to choose right here. And also, before we get too far down the line here, it's always nice to get these parameters set up. Parameters are powerful things that will actually make your day so much simpler, because especially if you have a complex project with a lot of repeated measurements and things here too. But just for example here, I'm just going to grab a couple here. Height, and I'm going to call height 8 inches. Okay, and a little plus for another one here. Width, and width is going to be 12 inches. Okay, yeah, if you ever need to space things or do calculations and center things, you can actually use these parameters into formulas too. It makes it so much easier too. And just get into using them. It takes a couple seconds, but boy, you can sure save the time. I don't really look at the sketch palette right here, so I'm just going to clear that up then too. So I guess we don't need the text command down here either. So anyway, I'm just going to grab a little rectangle here. And again, I'm not going to pay any attention to how big this is right now, because I'm going to hit D as in display, but D for dimension really, and hit my D, pull the line up here. Now 4.7, I could type in exactly what I want, but since I already got width and I start typing it, it's smart enough to know there's my width. D for dimension. Back again here too, that's my height user parameter. Okay, so that's that. Let's go ahead and scroll this back out a little bit here too, so we can actually see this a little bit better. And I'm going to pan this across here so I don't lose it here too much. Okay, now I'm also going to add just a couple circles here, just to show you how to preserve the order of these things here too. And again, I could have dimensioned these as well, or parameters as well, and say, oh, I'll make this one 1.5, whatever here too. And also, I wanted to see how well the Maslow went through curves, the Maslow processor. So this is just a fillet tool. What I just grabbed the fillet tool up here, and I took it down here and around in the corner, of course. And if I want to change the radius, I can easily do that right here. But 2 inches is fine for that here too. So basically, that's the shape we're making right now. Very simple here too. You guys can go crazy later on designing these things here too. There's lots of help out there when it comes to this type of design. So I'm going to finish this sketch right now. And I'm just going to click on this down here, left button click, right button now, and I'm going to press pull. Okay, what this is basically, this is just a flat sketch with no body. So I'm going to extrude it. And of course I can go one side or the other side or symmetrical. The distance is how it moves into. I'm going to do 0.25 or quarter inch because my test pieces like this, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of plywood on. It'll be plywood abuse. And the operation, you can cut and move all these things here too in the new body down here, join them together, make new parts or subtract parts. But right now it's just going to be a new body. And I'm going to say, okay. Now I can actually use my orbit tool down here and scroll this up and say, yep, there we go. We have a quarter inch piece. And by the way, it looks cherry wood because up in the setup in this program, before I even started, I went and just chose what it looks like. You don't have to do that. It'll still function just perfectly fine without that. So now if I'm actually, I would probably save this right now if this is anything important, but I'm not going to do that right now. So I'm done with that design. So now we're going to take it over to what used to be called CAM. Okay, now it's actually just called manufacture. So we're going to manufacture this piece right now. Okay, let me pull this back up here so you can see a little bit better here too. So now there's a setup. I can actually work on this, but it's really not even necessary. I can just come right down here to my 2D contour. Okay. And it's the same 5 choices you have right here, tool. Okay, so the tool, if I click on that, it's going to take me to this page right here. I can actually get it, let's do milling down here. There's a little latency here too when it comes to running all the programs I'm running right now here too. I'm going to use a flat end mill. Things are pretty quick. There's a quarter inch one I'm going to use right here. Okay, that's my flat end mill right here. I'm not going to flood. Of course, Maslow has no cooling, so I'm not even going to use that. And custom speeds down here. Most of these things, Fusion does, you don't need for Maslow. It has to do with how many teeth are of the cutting bit per inch are moving, and ramp speed and all the type of stuff here too that, you know, it's great to have if you have a real complex machine. But for Maslow, really down here, and if you hover them onto them a little bit here too, they'll show you what these things are here too. The cutting feed rate here too, feed used in the cutting moves. So when the router is cutting, that's what you want here too. 2,500 is a bit fast here. I like 508. That's equivalent to 20 inches per minute here too. And again, lead in, lead out, I don't even use them. I could change them, but it's not necessary to have here too. So really, you're done here, but do not hit OK here, okay? Because the OK is when they're all done. Everything here is done. So let's go on the next one here too, and the geometry here too. Now I'm going to bring this down a little bit so you can see what I'm going to do here too. So I'm going to just select these contours, the top right here. Now what I'm doing here, I'm selecting how it's going to be cutting. Now I can click on this button here and it'll be cutting on the outside of the circle versus the inside, but I kind of want it to cut on the inside that I'm doing right here too, and also be cognizant about how you're selecting these things here too, because you can preserve the order you can select them, that you've selected them, and they'll cut in that order here too. You don't want to cut your outside piece and then have it just holding by the tabs while you're milling the inside pieces. That probably would not be a good practice here too. So we've got those things cut here too. Stock contours, I don't care. Tabs, I do care about. And again, I don't do tabs by distance. Okay, right now we're putting a tab every 50 millimeters or so. And that would not work on a circle, because if you didn't have 50 millimeters, you're only going to probably get one tab in there. So what I do, I'm going to do by points. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring this down here a little bit here too, by points. And I like them a little bit higher than 1.6. I usually go around 2 millimeters or so. And I'm just going to add my tabs here. Actually, I'm going to pull this down. You can see this a little bit better here where the tabs are at. And again, you can go crazy here too, but for every tab you add, of course, you're gonna have to clean one up. I, for me, I prefer them by stress points, which would be sort of the corners and things like that. I usually, for small circles like this, I just put a couple of them in. That works fine. I think I already got one right there too. So okay, that is done. Rest machining, I don't care. Tool wrap, I don't care. And tool orientation, it's already set up how I chose the front. So the next one's going to be the heights. Now this one here, I want to really kind of look at this one from the bottom. Okay, and I do not like the from the bottom height from selected contour. So I usually would do that from the stock top. Okay, and it gives me way too much space for some reason here too. So I'm just going to scroll this thing in here too, and let's just go ahead and bring this closer. Okay. If you get too far, I think I'm going to be into my frame of my Maslow here. Come on, let's see here. Okay, so my top is going to be 0. I'm going to leave it at that. The retract height and clear height, I think I'm guessing here. I mean, I leave them up pretty high here anyway, what it recommends here too. But when you 0 it in Maslow, then it'll move itself to transfer. So I'm kind of happy with that. This is one of the reasons why I'm not exactly down on 0 on the very bottom here too. This is why I like the tabs a little bit higher, so I'm not completely cutting through them. Okay, the next one here, this is preserve order down here. Okay, now this is, if you don't click this, it's going to actually make its own mind which way to cut things. So preserving order now, it's going to cut how you selected the contours originally there too. So let's do conventional milling here too. The tolerance is closer than I have probably. Finish feed rate, that's what it's going to be fine. I'm not clicking in any way. Repeat finishing pass, nope. Preserve order. Roughing passes, no, I don't care. Multiple depths, I do care. I want this thing to basically cut through several different times. And right now, I think I'm going to do about 2, like again, I like a little bit more than 2 millimeters here too. Let's click on this and see the rest of it here too. Order by islands, so it's actually cutting one all the way down, cutting a little all the way down, instead of actually going through the whole thing, cutting a little bit each level then too. Stock to leave, nope. Smoothing, nope. And feed optimization, nope. Okay, so that should be done here. Linking here too, preserve height. I always click that on here too. Keep tool down. That keeps us from zipping up and zipping down all the time in different motions. I found out then too. Lead in I'm not doing. Lead out I am not doing as well. Okay, I'm not going to ramp. So basically, that's pretty simple how to run through this. So now if it's all okay, I'm going to say okay, and you're going to see hopefully here. All right, over here there's nothing yellow, there's no warnings. You're gonna be fine with that then too. So it means it's going to be just fine. I'm going to tilt this down and scroll this out a little bit here too. And one of the nice things I like about the Maslow here is that you can go through your simulation here too. So this is the order that I chose, of course, with the preserve order tab clicked all the time. And it's going to move around and click, 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 and basically you'll see the tab raise up and down. And again, you can see the bottom here too, the tab. It's going to be probably a little bit beyond the depth here too, but I think it makes a little cleaner cut sometimes here too. So it will just run through here. Alright, now I'm just going to advance this here too, so it's going to be in the done here too. Now I can go back, if you say, oh, I don't want that way to move around here too, just go back on the setup and hit, let's get out of here first, close, edit, and I'll take you right back again, not to this one, edit. Okay, and then you can go back and change anything you might want, depths, tabs, whatever you want to have here too, if it doesn't quite look right then too. So, but if you're happy with this, okay, You can say just OK or cancel here too. And then click back on this again here. This is right button click. And down here to post process. Okay. Now, I don't know if this turns red here too, but I like a green board like that here too. Program name or file, I'm just going to say example 1. Okay, and right now I'm using the GRBL generic. And if I'm happy with that, okay, but now I can actually set up the folder where it's going to go and things like that. So hit post, it's going to take me to the folder and say example save. Okay, we're going to save. And there's your G code for Maslow. Now, if you've already downloaded the Maslow post processor, you're just going to stick that thing in a file someplace where you can find it. And then when you do the post process, you're going to go up in here and setup, and basically you're going to find that particular Maslow post processor then too. So anyway, that is it's actually, like I said, it just looks a little different. The thing I found out though, like I said, it really had no difference between the Maslow cuts and the Gerber cuts, with the exception of I noticed both of my circles, I don't know if you can see, have just a slight oval to them. Okay. It was about 2 millimeters in one and 3 millimeters in the other. It was just enough to detect that I had it, and I was like, well, it's not the G code, because both the Maslow post processor as well as the GRBL did the same thing. So I inspected my machine, and sure enough, my right upper motor has twisted a little bit. I've actually had to correct that before, and I'll correct it again. And I think what I'm going to do is actually weld an extension on the base of that frame, because to get a longer lever arm, because wood season changes, all those type of stuff, and that's a lot of stress of the Maslow here too when it comes to pulling both chains up and lifting it up here too. So anyway, that's going to be one of my next things here too. So I probably will repost this again. I have a folding table I've been designing and making here too, but again, I really wanted to make this thing simple because I didn't want to have to read through dozens of pages of G code to look at the difference here too. There's very little difference between the Maslow G code and GRBL. In fact, Maslow is just simplified. They've stripped out a lot of things like the flooding and coolant and some other things. But most of the things I found out that Maslow just ignores anyway. In fact, you can watch the ground control. You'll say ignoring this, G17 or whatever command here too. So, well, anyway, hope this helps. And like I said, I'll be reposting again here pretty soon when I get my other table made. So anyway, have a good day.